Hello and welcome to News Round, a recap of stories amid headlines during the week. Let's take a look at the headlines now. Award-winning author Chimamanda Adichie says Nigeria does not have heroes, inspires younger population as 2023 presidential candidates lock horns at the NBA conference. And former President Olusegun Obasanjo, Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi, Governor Nyesom Wike and others meet in London. The PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar also meets with Wike and other leaders of the party. And Nigeria-United States government signed agreement on the return of over $23 million of the Abacha loot. Plus, President of Angola opposition party as well as citizens vote in presidential poll. I will begin News Round with the 2022 annual conference of the Nigerian Bar Association, where award-winning author Chimamanda Adichie said Nigerians are starved of heroes whom citizens can look up to. According to her, the NBA is in a position to set exemplary leadership with role models.
It's the 62nd Annual General Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, the leading event of the NBA and a main feature of the annual calendar of the legal profession in Nigeria. A major highlight of the conference is the presence of the vice presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, the African Democratic Congress, the Social Democratic Party, the All Progressives Grand Alliance, and that of the Labour Party, who received a rousing welcome when he was introduced.
Peter Obi, CON of the Labour Party.
The array of distinguished guests, including politicians, members of the bar and the bench who converged on Lagos, seems in tandem with this year's theme, Bold Transitions.
The annual conference is our flagship event, and the historical successes of previous conferences have made the AGC a permanent fixture in the NBA calendar that notably brings together distinguished public figures, thought leaders, and captains of industry to interrogate crucial issues in law, business, and governance.
In a room filled with bright minds and learned fellows, the atmosphere goes a notch higher when the keynote speaker, Chimamanda Adichie, takes to the stage.
We are starved of heroes in this country. So many young people are hungry for figures that they can look up to, for examples of integrity. One of my Nigerian heroes is Dr. Dora Akunyili. The late, may she rest in peace, may she continue to rest in peace. The late former Director General of NAFDAC, who was also considered troublesome. Troublesome meant that she, among other things, fought the importation of fake drugs into Nigeria, that she tackled the substandard status quo of the food and drug industries, and by so doing, she saved and changed many Nigerian lives.
On the 2023 elections, the author urges the NBA to act as the nation's collective conscience, as anything short of an accountable process will not be in the best interest of Nigerians.
As the Nigerian Bar Association continues to challenge the abuses of power, it is also important to turn inwards and reflect on how to avoid being co-opted structure of the abuse of power.
The Attorney General of Lagos reminds members of the legal profession about the multiple roles they play in society as arbiters.
The work that you do as legal practitioners impacts all of us and the quality of our lives in countless ways. This means that you carry a great responsibility on your shoulders to continually be part of the critical mass that creates and sustains a better society, a just, peaceful, and prosperous one for all.
The NBA conference continues till Friday, August the 26th, when a new administration will be sworn in to handle the state of affairs of the association for the next 2 years. Millicent Walker, Channels Television News.
The affairs of the country in 2023. For the vice presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Kashim Shettima, who represented the party's presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu, he says they would replicate the wonders in the Borno and Lagos states if elected president in 2023. Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi lamented the current state of the nation, saying the nation cannot afford to continue the same way. Similarly, the People's Democratic Party candidate, Atiku Abubakar, identified 5 key areas that need overhauling.
Today we have had all the negative indices as far as our country. Today we are more disunited as a nation. We have never experienced this level of poverty. We have never experienced this state of insecurity. We have never experienced this level of unemployment. We have recognized all these negative developments in our history. What is important is how do we tackle these challenges. And this is where history and also experience beckon on us to make sure that we don't get it wrong at this point in time. Otherwise, if we get it wrong at this point in time, I don't know when we will ever get it right.
For me, Nigeria needs urgent transition from being a highly insecure country to a secure country, from a disunited country to a united country, from corruption to a transparent country, from a country of lawlessness to a country of law and order. But in all this, it is important that we look at where we are today for people to understand the gravity of the journey we are going to take if we are going to transit.
What is important for a Nigerian leader of the next dispensation must be a leader who has a mastery of financial management capabilities and someone who understands the Nigerian psychology, someone who appreciates and understands the complexity of the Nigerian nation. Here, you have a city boy who has transformed Lagos into a home for all. My brother seated here, he calls Lagos home, not Auka. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has established an excellent track record of performance. He has mentored men and women who are excelling in different fields of human endeavor. And the world is changing. And the trajectory of global growth is facing Africa, and Nigeria will make or mar that transition.
And the ex-Anambra State Chief Judge and presidential candidate of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, Mr. Peter Mwadi, admonished on respect for the ballot. The presidential candidates of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, Adewale Adebayo, said there is leadership crisis, while candidates of the African Democratic Congress, Dumebi Kachiku, says solutions are desperately needed for the challenges.
Democratic
democratic transitions which are transparent will be the surest way to strengthen our country. Yeah. Nigeria, we should brace up for the best electoral practices in election year 2023 and beyond. In all modesty, I postulate that the triple banner of the rule of law, separation of powers, and due process will lead us to security of lives and property, economic revitalization, prosperity, and genuine happiness. Transitions cannot be rotations. Ashebe was right that leadership was the problem of Nigeria. But the problem of Nigeria today is rotation of the same leadership in different political parties. If you make a change, generational change, attitudinal change, you will have a bold transition that will take away all those who have been in government and bring new people. That is the vision.
We speak about security. I live in Abuja. My kids can no longer go to school because schools in Abuja, where the president of Nigeria lives, the schools are shut. If they can't protect schools in Abuja, where then is safe in Nigeria? Where's safe in Nigeria? Our security infrastructure is overwhelmed, underfunded. We must immediately get the police. Please, it's important you listen to me. Please, please. We must immediately get the police, the civil defense to join our military in this war. I have been to war-torn countries, and Nigeria is the only country in the world where a nation is at war and her people don't know they are at war.
And in the meantime, the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, has also met with Governor Nyesom Wike in London. Both PDP leaders were earlier reported to have met in London, but the media aide to the PDP presidential candidate, Paul Ibe, told Channels Television that his principal traveled to Paris for a business meeting and not London, as was reported. However, Atiku and Wike, alongside some governors and other PDP chieftains who appeared in an earlier picture with former President Obasanjo and Mr. Obi, could be seen together in another picture in London. In a statement, Mr. Ibe explained that Atiku had called on PDP members and supporters to desist from statements that could compromise the party's unity. Part of the statement reads, all the leaders of the party, including especially the governor of Rivers State, His Excellency Nyesom Wike, and all governors of the PDP are united in working for the victory of the PDP in the next year's general election across the board. He urged PDP members not to fall for what he describes as the antics of the APC. Also, as the political intrigue ahead of the 2023 general elections appears to be assuming a different shade as the presidential candidates and other key political actors continue to strategize in the run-up to the crucial contest, a meeting involving former President Olusegun Obasanjo, Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi, and Governor Nyesom Wike said to have taken place in London. A picture which surfaced online shows the others who were at the meeting, including the Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde, his Benue and Abia State counterparts, Samuel Otom and Okezie Ikpeazu, as well as former Governor of Cross River State, Donald Duke. Details of the reported meeting has not been made public, but may not be unconnected with the ongoing realignment among key players in the political parties. This development comes amid a reported meeting between River State Governor and the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, who is said to be wooing Governor Wike to his party, following the yet-to-be-resolved dispute between Wike and the PDP presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar. And when News Round returns, Nigeria and United States sign agreement for return of Abacha loot. That's in a moment. Just stay with us. Welcome back. Still watching News Round. Well, large sums of money stashed in various financial institutions abroad by former head of state, General Sani Abacha, still being traced and returned to Nigeria 24 years after his death. The latest is the over $23 million which the Nigerian government has signed an agreement with the government of the United States for its repatriation back home.
The United States of America has again agreed to return another fund looted by former head of state, late General Sani Abacha, and the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Abubakar Malami, is meeting the U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria, Mrs. Mary Beth Leonard, for the execution of the agreement. This agreement is for the repatriation of over $23.4 million US, and according to Mr. Malami, it is a result of painstaking efforts, as he gives a breakdown of what the funds will be used for.
The Federal Republic of Nigeria and the USA have negotiated and finalized the terms of the asset return agreement, which we are here this afternoon to execute. It is worthy of note that in line with the term of the agreement, Mr. President has already approved that the funds be utilized for the ongoing Presidential Development Infrastructural Funds projects, namely Abuja-Kano Road, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, and the second Niger Bridge, under the supervision of Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, NSIA.
This is not the first recovery the Nigerian government will be making of the assets looted by the former military leader, late General Sani Abacha. According to Transparency Information Technology Initiative, the federal government of Nigeria has between 1998 and 2020 recovered a total of $3.6 billion looted by the former military leader. Between 1998 and 2007, over $2 billion was recovered from Switzerland and the United Kingdom, while between 2008 and 2015, over $1.5 billion was recovered from both Switzerland and Liechtenstein. Under the current administration, the sum of $322 million was repatriated from Switzerland in 2018, while the sum of $311 million was repatriated by the United States government and the bailiwick of Jersey in 2020. In May this year, the National Crime Agency in the UK says it also recovered over $23.4 million believed to have been siphoned out of Nigeria by the former head of state, late General Sani Abacha. The U.S. ambassador to Nigeria also gives an account of what her country has also returned to Nigeria, as she assures of the U.S. government's support in fighting corruption in Nigeria.
Combined with the $311.7 million the United States seized and repatriated with the assistance of the bailiwick of Jersey and the government of Nigeria in 2020, this repatriation brings the total amount of funds repatriated in this case by the United States to more than $334.7 million.
To seal the agreement, both countries append their signatures to the documents.
Okay, sorry.
The late General Sani Abacha is not the only Nigerian who has been indicted of siphoning money belonging to the country. And as the Nigerian government celebrates this latest recovery, the citizens are expecting to see accountability and judicious utilization of the funds so far recovered. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
And concerns about democratic regression in Africa and what must be done to consolidate the system of government at the continent form part of the key highlights of the 2022 Annual Legacy Dialogue in honor of former military president General Ibrahim Babangida in Abuja. The keynote speaker, Professor Jibrin Ibrahim, described the downward trend, which he says democracy is gradually taken since 2010, and the threats that recent military coups in some African countries poses to the democracy in the continent. However, other speakers at the event, including the former Vice President, Mr. Namadi Sambo, appealed to the politicians to shun hate campaigns and other conduct that could threaten Nigeria's democracy.
The International Conference Center is full to capacity as family members, friends, top politicians and allies of the former military president, General Ibrahim Babangida, converge for the second edition of this legacy dialogue in his honor. The dialogue is a retrospect on Africa's democratic journey, and the keynote speaker decries what he terms a retrogressive democracy in the continent since year 2010.
From 2000 to 2010, there were real efforts to live by the principles we had enunciated for ourselves. But since then, the downward trend accelerated. The issue about democratic regression is that it's a global trend. The challenge before us, therefore, is for each and every one of us to make efforts to continue this struggle for democratic consolidation.
Nigeria has held on to its democratic journey since 1999, and some of the speakers at this event have a strong opinion on the need to consolidate the gains made so far.
As we approach the critical stage toward the 2023 general election in Nigeria, it is important to use this opportunity to call on all political parties and indeed candidates and other key stakeholders to adopt issue-based campaigns. We must all shun the use of hate or foul language and mudsliding to avoid overheating the polity.
Next year's election campaign is a time for party politics. Now is a time for unity, for national togetherness, a time to forgive and forget the quarrels of the past, and to focus on the solutions for the future.
Since the return to democracy in 1999, there has been several efforts to improve the country's democratic process. And for some, the 2022 electoral law is a major boost to strengthening democracy in Nigeria.
The signing into law of the Electoral Act 2022 by President Muhammadu Buhari has far-reaching positive outcomes that will also strengthen the confidence of citizens in our electoral processes, leading ultimately to a more stable polity.
The panel session, which is co-anchored by Channels Television's Ladi Akeredolu Ali, highlights some of the dangers to democracy in Nigeria and the urgent need to address them. Nigeria's fourth republic since 1999 is the longest democracy the country has ever experienced since independence in 1960. And many hope that the 2023 general elections provides another opportunity to grow the country's democracy.
And we end news round now in Angola, where citizens have voted in a general election, which is expected to be the most closely fought since its independence in 1975. The country's president and candidate of the ruling party, João Lourenço, also cast his vote as he hopes for a second term. The National Electoral Commission expects 14.4 million registered voters to cast their vote across 13,238 polling stations in Angola and in the diaspora. 8 political parties are, however, participating in the elections.
According to state-owned broadcaster TPA, President Lourenço is the first presidential candidate to cast his vote in the elections, which have been described by analysts as highly contested. Lourenço, who is seeking re-election, voted in the early morning at a polling station in Luanda, surrounded by heavy security. He encouraged citizens to go out and cast their votes.
We have just exercised the right to vote. It is fast and simple, so we advise all eligible citizens to do the same. In the end, we all win. Democracy wins, and Angola wins.
As the presidential candidate of Angola's main opposition party, Adalberto da Costa Jr. cast his vote, he called for election laws to be respected. Mr. Jr. was accompanied by his wife and a jubilant crowd.
I urge all to vote, and that nobody goes without fulfilling this great opportunity, because the elections are a celebration. My expectation is that the day goes normally, that it is tranquil, and that at the end of the day, all votes are respected, all results are placed at the polling stations as the law says, and that Angola celebrates its choices.
Angola's only female presidential candidate, Florbella Malachias, also cast her vote. The 63-year-old lawyer and former journalist is running for president among 7 men. Ms. Malachias is running on the Humanist Party of Angola ticket. She's a former member of the main opposition UNITA party.
Looking at the path our country is in, I think it's very important to elect a new president who maybe can change the current status of Angola.
Angola's youth make up over half of the country's voters, but many feel forgotten. Youth unemployment reached an all-time high last year. Young people are now eager for change amid a high cost of living that has made life harder for many. Analysts say tweaked vote counting rules may delay official results by days, raising tensions, which some fear may boil over into violence.
And that's News Round and View. Thank you for watching. I'm Laddie Williams. Bye-bye.